impact, but the heliopter was a tiny thing, barely more than a seat and an engine, and she had to trust that whatever crossbow it had mounted before the stick would miss any vital part of her own craft. Thinking of her flyer, Taki became aware of an ominous clicking from the engine.
Running down again. Always at the worst possible moment.
The fixed wing was now coming back fast, swooping low over the waters and then pulling up hard, trying to barrel in for her. She climbed and climbed, so that, with his rotary letting loose in a blaze of wasted ammunition, he passed in a blur below her. They had both left the heliopter well behind. Whilst it could balance and hover on a gnat's ball, as the saying went, it had nothing for speed. She had to wrap this up quickly and then get back to the ships, but at the same time she had to do something about the warning noises her engines were making.
Time to do the usual.
Taki yanked the stick back one-handed, so that for a second the Esker was pointing straight at the apex of the sky, and then she flipped the craft on its wingtip and turned into a steep dive. She saw the fixed wing flash past her again, unable to compete. After all, the Esker Valenti was one of the nimblest machines over the Exelsea, and she could even give Dragonfly riders a run for their money on the turns. Releasing a catch, she felt the wood and canvas of the flyer shudder as the parachute unfurled. This was her second, so if she didn't close matters here before the engine ran down again, then it would mean a forced landing at best. Taki listened anxiously, above the rushing of the wind, and heard the clockwork mechanism that sat immediately behind her screaming with spinning gears as the drag of the chute rewound it. Sometimes, not often, that failed to happen, and at that point she really would have had a problem, for the world before her eyes now was already a sheer expanse of sea. She pulled the stick back again, putting all her weight on it, and heard the struts and frame of the Esker give all their familiar protests. Another catch flicked, and the chute was gone, billowing away into the ether, and the Esker Valenti levelled out over the Exelsea, no more than 10 feet over the wave-tips, speeding past the jutting Nine Fingers crags. The flash of piercer bolts zipping past told her the fixed wing had found her again, and she led it sideways in a turn easy enough for it to manage, banking left and right erratically to avoid its aim until, and too late for the fixed wing to avoid it, they were heading straight for the wooden side of the pirate vessel. And then the fixed wing's rotary was punching holes in its own ally, both above and below the waterline. She pulled up, dancing past the white sweep of the sails, and a glance over her shoulder told her that the fixed wing had flown wide of the ship's stern. The Esker could turn like nothing else in the air. Most orthopters around the Exelsea had 4 wings. Some had 2, but she had her secret. 2 wings and a little pair of clockwork halteres, drumstick-shaped limbs whose metronomic beating kept the flyer under her control in even the steepest of arcs. And now she was following the fixed wing, which had slowed down to match her speed to accomplish the turn. She lined the Esker up directly behind it, with one hand on the trigger of her rotary piercer, the weapon that had so revolutionized air fighting over the last 10 years. Like an infantry piercer, it had 4 powder-charged barrels with spear-like bolts, but these discharged one at a time, not all together, rotating as they did so, while the feeding gears pulled through a strip of gummed canvas that fed new bolts into the machine. It possessed the speed and power of a repeating ballista fitted neatly below the nose of her craft. Bang, 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 and the fixed wing faltered in the air. A moment later it was smoking, the mineral oil in its fuel engine catching fire. She pulled out from behind it, seeing it dip lopsidedly towards the waves. The heliopter was right there, over the ships, puttering towards her, and she saw the repeating crossbow loose and loose again, its bolts falling short at first, and then flying wide. It was jinking sideways.